since I heard about the opening of a gnarly new skate pool in St Ives, I've been itching to hop in the van, get down there and give it a whirl. Luckily, a window presented itself for a road trip, so I goaded my cousin Mark Rivers to come along for the ride. Mark was a pro footballer in the 90s and the noughties, and just recently he's developed a passion for bull riding and pool skating. His athletic DNA has come in handy, and the progression so far has been impressively swift. So much so that I figured a skate pool session with the dudes would be just a ticket. We packed the van with plenty of spares, sandwiches and lashings of ginger ale and hit the road, destination St Ives in Cornwall. Upon arriving, the first thing that wowed me was a rather challenging looking DIY loop. I have no doubt that this will feature me falling on my head in a future video. The street section is nice and long with plenty of features and is very easy on the eye. There is also a spine ramp, mini ramp section with a gully that leads down to that loop. However, it was the ace looking skate pool that piqued our interest. This bowl has a healthy dose of swimming pool DNA and includes features such as concrete coping and tiles, a waterfall, a def box, and really tight transitions with a generous dollop of vertical all the way round. I generated fairly lofty ambitions on the trip down, but seeing this bad boy in the flesh made something inside me fall on its side. The photos and the videos just don't do justice to how steep the sides are, and also how intimidating dropping in on that vert with those tight trannies looks when you're standing over the top. I had a few sips of tea to steady the ship, and then I formulated a more realistic set of goals. These were: number 1, find a way to drop in. Number 2, execute front side and backside calf grinds on that lovely concrete coping. Number 3, find a way to exit the pool with some level of control and decorum. To start with, Rivo and I decided to start our runs in the flat bottom. This worked pretty well as the waterfall is fairly steep and also those transitions are tight, so pumping speed into the run was pretty straightforward. In fact, Rivo exceeded all his expectations as he started to generate enough speed to get his carving turns up to tile and to coping level. Regular viewers will know that my dropping in on vert and off of pool coping is a bit hit and miss. I find that the bullnose coping kicks the board up at a bit of a wonk, and the whole vista looking down is pretty intimidating. I also think my anxiety levels have been increased, as in recent sessions I seem to have hit a rich vein of form for coming a cropper. Fellow skate dude and friend of the channel, Geordie, has plenty of vertical skating experience, and he was kind enough to demonstrate the tail drop in the deep end. I offered up the tail drop, but I decided my favoured option was to try and drop in from the axles. I know this technique is pretty quirky, but I find with this method I can get down nice and low, bend the legs, that gives me confidence. And because I'm coming in off the axles, that chunky coping has no opportunity to set the board on a terrifying wonk. So a couple of deep breaths, 100% confidence, 0 skill, over the front, oh my gosh. That first attempt helped get rid of the nerves. I knew what I needed to correct, so on the next attempt I stayed a little bit more in the back seat, committed, Bob's your uncle, there she blows. Carving round, I found those tight radius transitions a joy for developing speed. I had to remember to keep my knees bent down and up the waterfall. I could catch a little bit of air, lose traction. Oh my gosh. When I started going for the tiles and the coping, I found there was a price to pay, and service came both quickly and abruptly. I've never skated anything as whippy as the shallow end of this pool. Just getting round a carving turn was a challenge, let alone hitting the tiles or the coping. Frontside was particularly challenging, and I kept coming a cropper, so I needed to remember the key points of bending my knees up as I got to the apex of the turn, and also looking to the exit with my head while swishing my legs through. With a little bit of practice, I started getting the tiles with those frontside turns, and I also got a little bit braver and started sending it up for a backside carve grind. The deep end setup definitely felt more familiar to me than that shallow end, and we all had loads of fun skating the deep end. I started to have fun developing my line. I found I could pinch a little bit of hip on the way up and on the way down, and also pumping up and down the waterfall was key to generating speed. I wanted to include frontside and backside turns at both ends, and I found if it all went wrong, I could just slide out onto my knees, which worked a treat due to the lovely new slidey fresh concrete. To finish up, it was time to work on hopping out. I've been putting in a bit of practice on my vert dismounts at the Duck Lane Deep Bowl. I have to say these are pretty scary, but really fun. The key points are to go really fast, bend the knees, pump up the transition to make yourself weightless, keep the knees tucked up and do a little pop of the board, grab hold of it and then land on the deck safely, ready to do it all again. So I found I developed that deep end hop out pretty quickly, and I reckon the deep end was the place of choice for finishing the run. To start with, trying to hop out the shallow end felt like I was hitting a brick wall, and I entered into a mini battle. Well, that's it for this video. Overall, this pool is one of the most challenging and adrenaline-filled spots I've ever skated. Congrats to Rivo for pushing his pool skating up to the next level, and many thanks to Geordie for all his help and encouragement. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe. It really helps me make bigger and better videos. As ever, my name's been John Bishop, and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to skate.